Hello, hello. How do you do? I'm Elle. I've been in a chokehold of my webcomic, The Story Gala, drawing the main characters, thinking about the story, writing the story. This has been going on for almost 3 years. As much as I love this story, it will be the first that I do publish, and it will be a comic eventually. I even see it as a show, but that's like a 1 in like a billion chance that would happen. But back to the point, because I love this story like so much with all my heart, it's really hard for me to like other stories that I've made. I'm a character designer. I have been since I was a child. I love creating OCs, and that did not stop after I made this story. However, I never really felt attached to any of the stories or characters that I've made in the past 3 years. I'd obsess with them for like a week max, and that's stretching it, and then I go back to the Story Gala. Now, in an attempt to get out of this rut, I push myself to make a story and stick with it. I'm not pushing my main story to the side and scrapping it. Of course not. That's my baby. The Story Gala is a superhero, supernatural, drama, action with romance, underground secret lab, CAA, partially doomed Yuri. So much of that. My new story, The Consultant, does take place in the same universe, and there is a big crossover between the stories at the end, but I'm getting ahead of myself. That means that the same rules and species apply to the story. A little bit about myself. My parents, mostly my dad, watched a lot of TV in the early 2000s before having me, but a lot of the shows are Crime of the Week with Police, Psych, Monk, The Mentalist, Bones, and more of a recent love is High Potential. And like them, I love these shows as well. I love Crime of the Week shows. This love turned into my true crime love as well. Now, Cal and Eva from the Story Gala do become detectives in their adult lives, but that's in the future, and I want to work on a detective series right now. Back to The Consultant. The Consultant is a crime of the week with a mind-reading Grim Reaper named Harriet as a consultant for the 13th precinct of the NYPD. The 13th precinct takes supernatural cases along with everyday ones. Along with Harriet, there's Dia, a grumpy detective who does not like the new consultant at first. But of course, in my fashion, who loves romance, Dia and Harriet do fall in love. I wanted to flesh Harriet's character out today in an attempt to grow more attached to them. I am a fan of them so far, but I wanted to cement them into one of my favorite characters. I wanted to use like an OC drawing challenge for this. So today I'll be using Baby Carrot's art OC drawing challenge. I did modify some days for my purposes, and I do apologize for not sticking 1 for 1. I have a lot of drawings to do, so let's get into it. Before diving into all these drawings and all the lore, I need a base because a lot of these prompts are outfit prompts, and I don't want to draw a new drawing for every outfit. I wanted to experiment with a body type I haven't really before. So Harriet has a pear body shape with significant hip dips and an overall thicker body type. I also wanted to explore color palettes and skin tones. Harriet's skin and hair color is definitely inspired by Emma Artley's Winifred. I love that color combination so much, and I wanted to apply it to my own work. I also wanted to figure out their tattoos because this is a base and I can add tattoos and they'll possibly be seen with some outfits. I gave them these like little coquette-esque bows above their knees. And this like whimsy ladybug tattoo on their hip because Harriet loves ladybugs. Literally their car is a Volkswagen Beetle painted to be like a ladybug. The car is called the Ladybug. And then I gave them this like fantastic Mr. Fox-esque like apple tattoo on their shoulder, but that might have been a mistake because I think their freckles make it so like you can't see the stars, but it's fine. And then they have this like little heart button on their lower right arm. I have this idea because Harriet has this like close group of friends and they could all have different shaped button tattoos. I'm very sane. But yeah, here's the base. So, who is Harriet? Harriet Hawthorne is a Grim Reaper, aka a vampire. Grim Reapers have different rules than a typical vampire. Cal is one of them. They can go out in the sun, they do bleed, but have significantly less blood. They do have reflections. They aren't immortal. They stop aging at 25 until they reach 125, and they have a lifespan of like 200. They can have garlic bread, and holy water does not repel them. They have similarities, the blood drinking, the fangs, and they do transform into a bat. Grim Reapers, like the name suggests, they reap the souls of the dead and guide them to their afterlives. They also have a third eye. There is also a stigma between born Reapers and science Reapers. Harriet's parents were Reapers, so they were born as a Grim Reaper. I keep using Cal as an example, oh my god. But Cal was made a Grim Reaper like in a lab, hence the lab mark on his cheek. There is a big division between the two, and that goes for like most species that have been replicated in a lab. It's kind of like diamonds versus fake diamonds made in a lab. Anyways, I bring this up because it affects another character in the story, but anyways, Harriet, how can I say this nicely, is kind of a loser. A girl failure. They were bullied a lot as a kid for being weird and internalized that a lot. They grew like a pick-me, not like other girls, complex in their early years, not speaking from personal experience. Harriet is better, growing up. They still harbor negative feelings about those who have hurt them and still hold grudges like for over a decade. They don't forgive easily, and they often jump to conclusions about someone's character. God, I'm just listing all their bad qualities, but anyways, I love flawed characters. I'm working on making not like perfect Mary Sue characters. Harriet is also kind, caring, and a big people pleaser. People pleaser might also be a big flaw. A big part of the story is that Harriet's parents were criminals and were killed when Harriet was 8. Very original, I know. But that leaves Harriet's older brother, Chris, to raise a kid while also just being a kid. Chris was 18 and vowed to get away from the criminal life. Yet now he had a kid sibling to raise, and he had to make ends meet. Harriet joined in on the criminal lifestyle with Chris, and they landed in juvie a couple times when they were still a minor. No violent crimes, just shoplifting and drove without a license. Harriet joined Chris when it came to hunting bounties, often being the driver. Then when Harriet was 18, Chris was 28, they got caught drinking a human's blood. It's not illegal in this universe, but the mortal needs to be conscious and consenting. Yes, this man was a criminal who had a bounty on his head, but it's still an offense, and the two were brought in. Chris had a long rap sheet, so they could finally put him behind bars because they finally caught him. Harriet just got to put on their record and was let go. Chris was in jail for like 3 years before getting paroled. Harriet often has to bail him out, paying thousands of their own dollars to help him. They feel responsible for Chris and try to keep him out of trouble, though they fail miserably. They do love Chris, but later in the story, they take some time apart as Harriet sets boundaries and will no longer bail their man-child brother out. Harriet is very much a maximalist. They wear a lot of whimsy twee, Y2K-esque like clothing. I'm biased. I love this style so much. I would love to dress like this, and I do sometimes, but I feel like I look so stupid, even though I think the outfit is like really cute. Anyways, Harriet dyed the hair bright orange, has funky earrings, food-themed hats and hair clips, silly-shaped bags, mixed patterns. I'm obsessed. Now, I struggled with the default design. I had so many ideas, but the issue was I had so many different options that just didn't mesh well. Though Harriet is a maximalist, I wanted the design to have some like cohesion. I struggled with the sleeves, with the undershirt. I wanted to have this like choker with the button and these like Mary Jane sneaker things, but oh my god, oh my god, I could not make anything work. I ended up like ditching the choker, switching the sneaker Mary Jeans for like these tall brown boots with chunky sock peeking out. And I hated how the t-shirt looked, so like I just threw a hoodie on top and then swapped the choker for a couple necklaces. I wanted the button headband to work so much, but it just didn't, so I just replaced it with a newsboy hat with buttons and like the middle part. I don't know what it's called, the middle. It's hard because Harriet has several different outfits, so it's not like their default look for Harriet, but I do think Harriet's signature is like patterns is like stripes, polka dots, and buttons. But yeah, here's the default design, definitely subject to change. Now, technically, the prompt is old design. However, Harriet is not that old. Hell, they're a fairly new character, only like a couple months old. Like, I made them in October. So for this prompt, I replaced it with creating a cover. I wanted to make covers for my stories for fun, as well as using them for album covers for hypothetical soundtracks if they were real media. I saw this idea done by Emma Arley, and she did the extra step of burning a CD and use the cover. I don't have a CD player, so this quote-unquote soundtrack will be done on Apple Music. Surprise, surprise, Harriet is in a different outfit on the cover. This time it's a t-shirt with like a gingham, like a red gingham tank top, and then there's this apple beret. Harriet doesn't have one outfit, lol. I had a couple ideas for this cover. My first idea was like a little like shot with Dia and then walking with coffee, but that felt like a little boring. And then another idea was to focus on the third eye, but I couldn't figure out the positioning of the hands, so we just settled on Harriet looking at us with like a deer overlapping, because I don't know, Harriet's eyes reminded me of a doe, and I don't know, I love Life is Strange. I already use a lot of photo bashing in my work, so I used an actual photo of a deer and then a neighborhood because I love the way it looked and I'm lazy. Shocker. Harriet is a consultant for the 13th Precinct. Harriet has the ability of mind reading, inherited by their dad. All they have to do is touch someone and they'll see a piece of their mind, whether it's what they're thinking or a memory. Harriet can control what they see or hear from the person. This is how Harriet ends up landing a job as a consultant for the 13th Precinct. Harriet ends up bumping into a guy who had, what is YouTube friendly? Unalived? I don't know. He unalived his wife, and Harriet flagged down a cop who turned out to be Dia, and Dia assumed Harriet is an accomplice. Harriet reveals, no, I'm just a mind reader, and Dia takes their advice and solves the case. Then the chief asks Dia how they solved the case, and Dia tells them about Harriet. So then the chief asks Dia to find this Harriet Hawthorne because she would like to talk to them. Harriet is then hired, and hence the name, the consultant. Anyways, quick album cover potentially will change later on, but this is good for now, and here's the playlist at the moment. Will definitely be added on to. Now, Harriet doesn't have a ton of money. In the beginning of the story, they've just lost their job in retail due to layoffs. That's why they jumped onto the opportunity when they were offered the consultant job. So most of their clothes are thrifted and handmade. This dress is 100% thrifted. This is my first time rendering like a satin silk-esque material. It was fun. I don't think it's perfect, but it was fun to do. I don't know about the color. Blue is an opposite of orange, but I don't know. What do you think? I do like the style of dress Harriet, and honestly all the characters in the show have like a bit of 2000s Y2K flair, because I'm biased. I love this Y2K style because it just feels so nostalgic. Anyways, here it is. Now, Harriet did not go to a fancy school. God, no. They went to a public high school with thousands of other kids. I also made a different drawing because Harriet had a different hair and a different personality, whereas current Harriet is very bubbly, outgoing, sassy, confident. Harriet in high school was shy, quiet, invisible, very angry at life. They did not want to stick out, risking that bullying would become even more severe. Since middle school, Harriet has been seen as this weird, socially awkward outcast. They were an easy target to be picked on and were often used as a punching bag. So instead of their loud style, they tried to blend in and stay under the radar. Their hair is their natural color and is much shorter. Though they stayed under the radar, getting into juvenile detention did not help their case, though their offenses were nonviolent and pretty mild. Like I said, shoplifting and driving without a license. Kids spread this information like wildfire, as if Harriet had committed this like heinous crime. Kids and even teachers stayed clear as if they were the plague. Harriet was not thriving in high school.
Oh my god, My Shayla.
PJs are pretty simple. Harriet wears like short nightgowns to bed. I also took Harriet's braids out and calmed down the hair. Yes, Harriet's hair is naturally wavy, but in their everyday life, they curl the ends out and flip them out even more. I did struggle with the longer hair. Harriet has this jellyfish cut and a very dramatic one at that. I think I did well. I think it looks okay. Quick and easy prompt. God, okay. First and foremost, I will say this. I am not a furry artist. I am dog water at drawing furries. This is why if I ever open up commissions, I will not be drawing furries. Nothing against them, I will say. But if you do want your furry OC to be drawn, please play another commissioner to get the art that's worth your money, and do not commission me for about that. I'm not about taking your money to give you this. Plus, commissions are closed. I'm busy with college. Anyways, Harriet is a deer, similar reason to the cover. And their eyes are kind of based off of Doe's Life is Strange. Yet again, another outfit. I like this one a lot. I chose for this prompt to do like a school photo, so it's like the classic like blue background and like the blinding white lighting. Again, Harriet with their natural hair color, honestly, their hair is a bit strange, but I don't know, maybe they're like me who also had pinstraight hair until puberty hit. They've also had glasses since kindergarten, and this is their second grade picture. This would be in 2009, and school pictures are taken in like September, October, right? So this photo is taken just months before their parents pass away. This one is pretty easy. However, this is where the choice of doing underwear kind of bit me in the butt, because I didn't want to draw like a naked base. I don't know how YouTube friendly that would be, but then it was a pain because I wanted to do this like brown swimsuit with like shorts and a bikini top, and then I had to like liquefy like the shit out of the base so the underwear wouldn't stick out, but then that just absolutely demolished the freckles. Don't look too closely at it. Oh my god, it's so bad. The outfit is cute though. Harriet is definitely the type to say beauty is pain, and they'll dress cute no matter what the weather is, which may not always work out, and they may or may not freeze or boil to death because they live in New York City. I reused the boots and the newsboy cap from the default design. I then picked out these like bell bottoms, a brown and pink like flower dress, and then a corduroy brown jacket. I also gave him this like very skinny scarf, very Y2K. I like this outfit. So Harriet is very much maximalist, whimsy, Y2K, tweet right. Take a shot. How many times I say Y2K in this video? Anyways, what's the opposite of that? Minimalism. By the end, this does not look like Harriet. Right off the bat, I will say I have nothing against minimalism, clean girl aesthetics. I don't have a problem with it. I don't hate it. I'm not saying if you dress like this, you're doing it wrong. Of course not. I have personal preference for more maximalist styles, and that's fine. With that out of the way, I feel like this looks like more like a distant cousin of Harriet rather than Harriet. I gave them this like sage green top, black leggings, Uggs. I forgot to give them glasses, but they're wearing contacts. Let's say that. I also gave them their natural hair color and styled it very differently. You also may not know, obviously I haven't told you, Harriet does not have a smartphone. They have a flip phone, so even the iPhone is on theme. Another full illustration. Spoiler, I love this piece. It's really cute. But anyways, I didn't have to think for a second who Harriet is closest to. It's their childhood friend, best friend, Ayana. Full stop. Ayana and Harriet have known each other since they were like in diapers. They grew up on the same street. Ayana's parents often babysat Harriet because, as I've said, her parents were art thieves and con artists. Obviously, no one knew, but whatever. They asked the LaRues to babysit their baby because they had work. Anyways, Ayana and Harriet are like this. They're like sibling level close. They act like siblings, they fight like siblings, they love each other like siblings. Ayana is a rising model. She's calm, kind, and extremely generous. Honestly, Ayana and Harriet are loosely, or maybe not loosely, based off Jess and Cece from New Girl. One whimsy, one high fashion. I love these two, and this illustration depicts them at a diner that they've gone to since they were like babies. I had to think about this for a while. I originally thought if we're going to off like the standard, like the story just began, then Harriet is definitely close with Dia and Van Horn. But in the end, Dia and Harriet are together, and Van Horn and Harriet are also like siblings. So there's the antagonist, but that's too easy and spoiler territory, as if people care. But anyways, I settled with Warren. Warren is Dia's ex-boyfriend / baby daddy. He has no interest in being a dad and said, nope, I'm just paying child support. He went on to have his own kids and wife. Well, not anymore, buddy. You cheated on your wife, and you have to face the consequences of your actions. So he thought, hey, wait, I can win Dia back. The scene is where Harriet meets Warren, and he tells Harriet that he's going to try and win his ex back. Harriet gives him encouragement, not knowing that this is Dia's ex-boyfriend. He has no chance, though. These two do not like each other, especially after Harriet gets together with Dia. This got complicated fast. So Harriet has a couple hobbies that I could have drawn. They draw, crochet, play video games. However, I chose their thrifting hobby. Yes, I looked it up. Thrifting is a hobby, but also thrifting is very important to Harriet. Like, as I've said, they don't have a ton of money, so they've grown accustomed to thrifting, diving in bins, picking up free furniture off the road, and they go to yard sales. I did a full illustration for this one. Harriet is looking at a rack of clothes with a basket in their arms. I used these like capri jean legging things. I don't know, but I originally had them in the default design before I changed them out for shorts with tall boots. So I reused that idea and paired it with this red and white polka dot baby doll tee. Throughout this challenge, I figured out that berets are Harriet's thing, especially this apple thing. That's definitely becoming a part of their default design. It's not a bad piece. I don't hate it. I don't know. I'm just kind of meh on it. For a Halloween costume, Harriet is Molly McIntyre. Harriet loves American Girl doll. Harriet may or may not be a self-insert. I'm kidding. But Harriet loves American Girl. They have loved it since a child, and their parents were way too broke to get them on-brand dolls. When Harriet was 13, they saved up and got their first doll, Isabel Girl of the Year. Harriet was like Nicole of Class of 09 pilot. They got Molly at a thrift store, and then Ayana got Harriet Just Like You, number 57. I wanted to show that this isn't like a store-bought costume, which they definitely do exist, but Harriet doesn't have $60 to spend on a costume, so this is all either thrifted from online or handmade. This is cute. I like it. Last one. Finally, this has taken forever. Family portrait. I chose to not do a full family photo because I would have had to draw Harriet at 8 again, Chris at 18. I didn't want to do that, so it's just Harriet and Chris in this photo, and it was taken 6 years ago at Harriet's high school graduation. So we have the return of Harriet's high school design with their natural hair color and it cut into a pixie. This is also taken months before Chris gets arrested. I had to get off my butt and actually design Chris. I knew what he looked like in my head, and but I didn't have any proper design references for this character, and was drawing instead off of vibes. Chris is a very flawed character. He means well, but really sucks in the beginning. He knew what his parents were: criminals, con artists who stole art. He never wanted to follow in that path. He wanted to become a part of the military, of the CIA. He wanted to help people. He wanted to save others. Yet after his parents passed away, he was now a legal guardian of Harriet. He was 18 and he now had to raise an 8-year-old. And kids, expensive. So he became something he thought he would never be: a petty criminal, a thief, a liar. And Harriet followed him in his crimes after they turned 14. Like I said, they got caught drinking blood and they got hauled in. It did get put on Harriet's record, but Chris got arrested and put in jail because of his massive rap sheet. Chris does not get better until season 2. I describe the story as a show. I'm such a loser. But yeah, Chris is a man-child season 1. Season 2, he's trying to be better while still slipping up. Season 3, he joins the CIA military, and by season 4, he's good. And yeah, that's 15 drawings done. I had so much fun doing this, and we'll definitely doing this again with other characters from the story. I haven't liked a story this much since the Story Gala was created, and I put all my blood, sweat, and tears into it. This helped me explore this character and flesh them out. The typical OC I've made in the past 3 years, I would fixate on like a week max, like I said, and then would be dropped all together. I've been thinking about the consultant for like months now, which is like weirdly freeing. I had a lot of fun doing this. I've also been like in like a massive art block, and forcing myself to draw 15 drawings like helped me shake that off. Credits and thanks again to Baby Carrot's art for the art challenge. I want to give them proper credit, and I love their videos. If you somehow have not seen their art, please do. I'll link their video of them doing this challenge and creating it down below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!